have with us Rakhee Lalvani. She's somebody who, for the last 30 years, she's been in public relations and corporate communications with one of the largest groups in India. She, as head of Vice President of PR and Corpcom at IHCL, the Indian Hotels Group. I think she's had a very large hand in making it one of the top brand in the world. And so congratulations, Rakhee, firstly on that. And what we wanted to do today is, since on the occasion of International Women's Day, you being a woman of power, a successful person, we wanted to kind of just, deep dive into how you operate, how you've dealt with a whole lot of different things in life. So let's get started.
Sure. Yeah? Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, Priya.
It's our pleasure. So what I wanted to ask you first off is, obviously, there must have been some occasions, at least early in your career, when there was some amount of discrimination or a gender bias in some way. So if you would like to share something on that.
Absolutely. I started way back in 1992 when there were very few women, firstly, who got into what I did at that point was hotel management. And I think there were just 7 of us women and about 50 men, boys at that time. And then, of course, the course was fantastic. But when you joined the industry, again, you were a minority. And typically, you were pretty much stereotyped and, as people assume that you will not join anything but perhaps the front office or even housekeeping. There were fewer colleagues in F&B at that time. So of course there were biases, and it's not like those biases don't exist today, but I think we're a lot better than we were in 1992. And I chose at that point not to be in operations, and I decided to pursue sales and marketing. But again, there was a bias, not in terms of gender, because you did have a lot of women at that time in sales and marketing, but it was bias about my qualifications. Until I I had the opportunity to meet the then managing director. His name was A.B. Kerkar, who most people would know, was an icon in the industry. And I said to him that I don't have the qualifications, but I understand hotels. I've done hotel management. I've interned there. And you're better off than getting some MBA who's probably has theoretical knowledge, but I have practical knowledge, so try me. So I believed in myself, and that's pretty much something that's stayed with me throughout my career and has helped me to push back when needed, to get something that I really wanted. And I wanted to be in this industry, in this business. And they said, okay, maybe she has something, let's try. So I was the first sales and marketing management trainee Indian Hotels employed. Without a qualification, without MBA, without any of those fancy degrees. And yes, and then of course, it was hard work, extremely hard work. You had to literally do everything, and people viewed you from that lens saying, oh, she's just, hotel management graduate. She probably doesn't know, the nuances of sales and marketing. What will she do? But you just had to work harder to prove yourself. And yes, sometimes you just had to work very hard on having your voice heard, because there were only male voices in a room a lot of times when I reached the position of influence or power, as you call it, whether it was a sales manager or whatever. You had to be louder, than everyone else, because otherwise you'd get lost. You'd not even get noticed. And of course, I didn't mean in terms of decibel, it just in terms of what she was saying meant something. So yes, I have gone through my share of biases, not so much discrimination, because I think I was fortunate. Priya, I chose to work for a Tata company, and inherently they choose people who are, pretty much, or they make sure that their attitude and their value system is of a similar nature to the Tata Group's ethos, which is not to discriminate. So I didn't face that as much, but of course I did face biases. We all still do. But I think if you just believe that you have something which can make a difference and add value, I think that will happen.
Great. So, and have these experiences informed your choice now? I mean, I know you're going to, come on as consultant and talk about, you're heading the diversity section in the hotel, which is a really big deal. And I think the first of its kind in many ways. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how, you started thinking about doing something like this and what your role is going to really entail.
So I'll be honest, whilst I've always subconsciously wanted to help women in the organization, because I guess I always knew that, I was part of the minority, and I definitely had very good mentors, bosses who helped me and guided me. And I wanted to be that person for my colleagues across the system. So I was subconsciously doing it in informal way. And I think the management recognized that, and they gave it to me formally, and absolutely full credit goes to my MD, the current MD, Mr. Puneet Chatwal, who recognized that I would be able to do something in the space of diversity and inclusion. And yes, Priya, I don't think in India, especially in hospitality, they have a lead person who's driving this in the focused fashion that I meant to do. So yes, the representation is not great, which is actually surprising, and most people will associate hospitality with women, but actually the percentage is very low. Indian Hotels has the highest percentage, the Taj, because we're a trusted brand, we're the world's strongest brand. So we do attract women talent. There's a certain trust that they repose in us. But if you look at the industry per se, the tourism industry, other hospitality players, it's dismal. And if I can take you through some of the statistics, so globally, for instance, if you look at women in workforce, it's 47% women are in the global workforce. Of course, this is the average of most of the top nations, including India. And in India, when you look at it, it's only 20% or 21%. When you look at tourism, it's about 40. It's the same 47% globally, but in India, it drops to 12%.
Oh, that's really sad.
It's really sad. And when you look at senior management, Priya, it even drops further, and the number may be something like 12 or 14% globally. It's 2 or 3% in India. So it's a lot needs to be done, and we understand that culturally there are certain sort of issues that we have to deal with, which is a woman is expected to look after the family and look after the house, and it's difficult to have them cope and multitask with that as well as work. But I think our responsibility, all of ours, is to enable them in some way so that they don't feel that their life has to be resigned to just looking after their homes. So I think what we will be doing at Indian Hotels, we're making a commitment to increase the numbers firstly, to hire more women, but to also work with them on ensuring that they feel like they belong, and we create an inclusive culture where they feel that they can also thrive and grow and meet their aspirations. And it needs a lot of interventions. It's not one thing and one size fits all, but you'll need to make interventions with policy, with learning and development, with counseling, with doing mentorship, with having sponsors, male sponsors, with having allies, with having networking opportunities. So it's all of this and more, which will help in sort of, moving the wheel and moving the needles. So that really is going to be our effort in driving diversity and inclusion at Indian Hotels, and I think my biggest agenda.
Okay. That's heartening to hear, because I do know that there's a lot of tokenism in this sector. It'll just silly. In a way, even Women's Day, although it is something which is essential, lands up becoming just a token active to gender
I think, I think we can all change that. People like all of us in the fraternity need to change that and make it an everyday subject. And I think what we are doing also in the hotels, it's not about male match. We want equality. We always pretty much believed in equality. We lean into male colleagues when we need their help, and they should lean into us equally, and not sort of stereotype us as people who don't know finance, don't understand nuances of legal documents, or typical things. We don't want them. So we want an equal world, and I think if we make an effort, we'll get there at some point.
Absolutely. I already saw that one of the Ginger hotels is being built by an all-woman engineering team. So,
yes. So really, Tata Projects and us, we're working together on this. So the team is all women at the site at the flagship Ginger Hotel. Is going to be a large hotel. We also have South Asia's first all-women-run luxury residences that's opened in Chennai. From the general manager to security to chef to engineer, everyone's a woman. And that was a proud moment when we opened that, the residences. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what about, internally, do you have a lot of sort of laws or rules which ensure women's safety and, more sort of inclusivity in many other ways?
Yes. Indian Hotels has always had a drop system for all our women employees across our hotels after 60 and 70. So they all get dropped home. Companies, like a car or a coach, as the request required. But this has been on since I was a management trainee, and it's nothing new. And of course,
job security in the sense, like, say, a woman who's just housekeeping staff and she's called to a room. So what kind of
So we obviously have certain policies and sort of standards, etc., to ensure that there's safety. So if someone does call somebody to be accompanied by a male colleague or someone, then, and we always have a guard positioned there. So there is that safety net which we've always worked on, even for our women travelers when they check in. I think most of our hotels have this, or if they don't, they're in the process of implementing the video on the telephone instrument, so you can actually see who's ringing your bell and choose to open it or not open it. So those systems are in place, and similarly at the back end for our women employees as well. We always ensure that there is that.
And for yourself, do you have any short-term or long-term goals for what you'll actually achieve through the diversity and inclusion program, both for women and maybe even for trans employees or other gender?
So we're in the process of actually making sure we have a target and a number to reach to. We want to definitely take the number up across hotels, across divisions, corporate office, etc. But more than that, work on retention. And whilst I can't share exactly what we're going to do, we will be announcing it publicly soon. But there is a lot of work going on in, like I said, in terms of having enabling policy, especially also for returning mothers, who don't have. Whilst a big one is that we have fresh facilities across every single hotel of ours. And that's hugely beneficial. It's actually helped take our numbers up because women are then comforted by the fact that there is a creche right there in the hotel where they are working. So that's a big one. But we're also looking at some other interventions very soon to make it more inclusive and to make it more welcoming for women employees. We want more women chefs. We want more women general managers. We want more women in all departments because they're equally capable. Like we just spoke about the Tata Projects, women engineers. So they're capable of everything, and we want to kind of take the numbers up. So yeah, there is a plan in place. I can't give you specific goal numbers right now, but yes, there is a huge commitment we're going to make, and we'll announce it very soon.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, I had a question is that when you have all these, sort of what is considered special facilities for women, So a lot of the male staff sometimes, I mean, I've heard in other groups and other companies, start to sort of, just subtly resent women, or, say, oh, you're getting all this special treatment, you're getting a job home. So, I mean, that kind of also engenders a different sort of disparity between the genders. So how do you deal with that?
So, like I said, so far our approach is going to be equal. We don't want the men to feel like they're the less significant lot, because that's not true. But I think just having them understand, and I think most of them do, but I'm sure there are ones who don't, but having them understand why it is important to do these things and sensitizing them, and it's something that we also will be doing very, very strongly, is to sensitize these people in understanding why these interventions are important for women. But having said that, I think we will also relook at some of our policies, like the paternity policy. Whilst the maternity leave is, in fact, it's the highest, I think, in Indian hotels, it's 7 months. We also want to, whilst we give young fathers some time off, we want to see how we can increase that. So I think at every point, we will also have their welfare in mind as much as women. Of course, women will need certain different interventions, but I think enabling the entire workforce will always be something that we look at.
Really good to know. Thank you. So I just want to also ask you something slightly more personal.
Sure.
Like whether you've faced sexist remarks or comments, some sort of like a situation, maybe if you remember, which kind of affected you for some time or got you thinking on these lines.
I can't remember any sexist remark. I'm sure there must be, but maybe maybe I'm immune to it and I don't get affected or have my way of dealing with it. But yeah, I mean, don't accept it. And I don't think I've ever stood for that. And I've, in my own way, pretty much said what I had to, whether it was in a room full of men or in a room full of senior management. And that you will not accept these remarks or tolerate it. Like I said, I'm fortunate again, Priya, I work for a fantastic company like the Tatas, where the kind of people who we work with are just amazing. And we've always been given that environment where you feel like you have equal and fair opportunities. So these things are not allowed, and they're part of what we call the Tata Code of Conduct. So we are blessed, but I'm sure there are many women out there who face these remarks, and I would say don't let it go, don't accept it. Even if it's in jest, just please, do make your point there, because otherwise it'll never go away, and we'll never be able to change these kind of behaviors.
True, but then how do you kind of avoid, being tagged a troublemaker?
Yeah.
Someone who's making too much of it,
Yeah, they'll always. So yeah, the one thing is that if you're too loud and if you're somebody who speaks up all the time, you're termed as aggressive. And if you don't, and if you're the shy type, then or if you're like sensitive, then you're like, oh, she's a woman, she's emotional. And it's annoying, and it's like, we don't say that about the men, catch us sort of saying that, he's too aggressive, or he's loud, or he's overbearing. Nobody says that. So why say it about us? We are individuals, and each individual is different. And yes, I think I went through it where I was, I had 50, 60 people reporting it to me in Bangalore when I was heading the sales and marketing there. The whole region, rather, the south. And I had a lot of male colleagues, and I knew they would say things like, oh, she's too emotional or whatever, And I would tell them, you know what, it's a great thing. Then you turn around and say that, I'm better off emotional, that I care about you and I'm empathetic and I feel for, these things that we want to achieve. And yes, I'm emotional, but then it comes with the advantages too. And you just have to keep dealing with it. And honestly, beyond the point, you're not going to be able to change everyone. So just take that in your stride and just be yourself. I initially, when I became the boss in my 20s or 30s, I said maybe you have to be like a man to be heard, or wear and wear pantsuits to be like looking like powerful. And then I said, you know what? I feel like a fool. I don't feel authentic. So I said, no, this is not working. So I wore my saris. I didn't wear those pantsuits because it didn't look good on me. And I wanted to feel feminine. I wanted to feel the woman I was. And I didn't want to be loud or overbearing. I was myself. And people realized that and respected me for it. So I think if I had to give anyone a message today, I would always say be authentic and just be yourself. And being yourself, you can make a difference. Of course, if you're a shy person who doesn't speak up, you must learn how to speak up. Those changes you will need to make if you want to rise. But it doesn't mean you have to become like aggressive, or you have to become, start emulating what a man's behavior. It's not required. You are special and remain that. And be yourself.
Thank you, Rakhee, for such inspiring words. It's been fantastic listening to your journey and your success mantra, literally. I'm sure a lot of newcomers into the industry are going to watch this very carefully. So
thank you so much, and I wish you and all the women the very best, not only on Women's Day but every day.